Okay, wine lovers, get ready to raise a glass to your new favorite Italian.
We are diving deep into Nero d'Avola.
This is a grape that's taking the wine world by storm, and trust me, it's time to ditch those old ideas about Italian reds.
What's really interesting about Nero d'Avola is
Mm?
it's kind of like it's been hiding in plain sight,
Yeah,
overshadowed by those more famous Italian grapes,
yeah.
you know. But now it's finally having its moment.
It's the underdog story everyone loves, right? The more I hear about this grape, the more I want to know. So, why all the buzz? Why is everyone suddenly raising a glass to Nero d'Avola?
Obviously, I think it's a few things coming together.
Yeah.
This grape has this distinct flavor, like it's not like anything else.
Really?
And it's so versatile when it comes to food, which is awesome.
Wow, food balance, nice.
Yeah. Plus, I think there's just this growing global interest in Nero d'Avola. I mean,
Yeah.
from California to Australia, winemakers are really experimenting with it.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my interest. Let's talk taste, though, because, that's what it's all about, right? What am I in for?
So imagine, like, biting into a black cherry that's been perfectly ripened in the Sicilian sun.
Okay.
It's that intense, almost jammy sweetness
Yeah.
that's Nero d'Avola.
Oh, I can practically taste it.
Nice.
So we're not talking about just any berry flavor here.
No, not at all. This is like real depth,
Yeah.
richness, complexity. Think dark fruits, plums, black cherries, but with a sweetness that's not like sugary.
Okay, I'm already sold on the fruit, but tell me, what else can I expect? What else is in there?
So with that fruit-forward kind of background, there are these really interesting spice notes that come through.
Yeah.
Black pepper, licorice. You even get hints of cocoa sometimes.
Hold on. Did you say chocolate? In my wine. Now, that's not something you hear every day. What kind of chocolate? How does a grape even develop those flavors?
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's those unexpected things that make Nero d'Avola so interesting. And usually the chocolate is subtle.
Okay.
It's not like you're drinking a Hershey's bar or anything.
Right.
More like a dark chocolate bittersweet. Often that comes out more after it's been aged in oak barrels. And speaking of aging, that's where things get really fascinating. So what starts as this bright, fruity kind of wine, it develops these really earthy, leathery notes over time, almost a volcanic edge, which makes sense when you think about where it's from.
Ah, yes. Sicily, land of sunshine and volcanoes. Let's talk about that. What is it about Sicily that makes Nero d'Avola so unique?
Exactly. It's all about location. And Nero d'Avola is picky.
It is.
Oh yeah, very specific about its terroir.
Yeah.
And Sicily, with that volcanic soil, it's the perfect place.
Okay, so volcanic soil. Got it. But what is it about this specific soil that makes a difference?
So it's not just drainage, although that's important too,
Right.
right? It's the minerals.
Thanks.
Potassium, iron, magnesium, all of those find their way into the grapes. And it's all thanks to those ancient volcanic eruptions.
So the earth itself is basically seasoning the wine.
Pretty much.
That's incredible. I can see why winemakers are so careful about where they plant these grapes. But it can't just be the soil, right? What about that famous Sicilian sunshine?
You're right. It's a balance.
Okay.
Nero d'Avola loves the heat. Like it needs those long sunny days to get that ripeness. But too much of a good thing,
There's a but coming, isn't there?
There's always a but. That intense sun is crucial. But if it gets too hot, the grapes lose their balance. They need that cool sea breeze too.
To kind of even it out.
Exactly. Keeps the acidity in check.
So it's like finding that sweet spot, just like crafting a good wine in the first place. And I'm guessing growing anything, let alone something as specific as Nero d'Avola, has its challenges, right?
Oh, for sure. It's not all sunshine and roses in the vineyard.
Right.
One of the biggest challenges is disease.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Powdery mildew, downy mildew. They're a constant threat, especially if it gets humid.
So how do they combat that?
Meticulous vineyard management. Like, you really got to be on top of it.
Got it. So what does that actually look like?
Pruning's a big one.
Okay.
There's a technique. It's called albarello pruning.
Basically, they train the vines low to the ground, almost like a bush.
Okay.
It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
It really helps with air circulation, sunlight penetration, which helps with those mildews.
Huh?
And speaking of challenges, climate change is a big one too. Those warmer temperatures can be good to a point, but if it gets too hot, the grapes, they can over-ripen, lose their acidity, all that.
So every sip of Nero d'Avola, it's like this testament to that balance between nature and human intervention.
I like that. That's a great way to put it.
This is fascinating. It sounds like a lot of care goes into producing a good bottle of Nero d'Avola.
So with all this talk about terroir and technique, are there any specific producers or like regions that stand out when it comes to crafting exceptional Nero d'Avola wines?
Oh, absolutely. When you're talking about those classic Sicilian Nero d'Avolas, you really can't go wrong with a producer like COS.
Okay.
They're known for their organic and biodynamic practices and their PFOS bottling.
Okay.
That one's fermented in terracotta amphorae. They actually bury them in the ground,
Wow.
which is really unique.
Pithos. Fermented underground. Okay, that's not something you hear every day. That's really going back to those ancient traditions. I like it. But you mentioned those experimental regions earlier. Those are exciting to me. What about the Nero d'Avola coming out of California? You see a lot of that these days.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how Nero d'Avola is kind of, finding its footing outside of Sicily.
Right.
And you're right, California's doing some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Palmino Wines, they're in Santa Barbara County. They're making a Nero d'Avola that has this nice balance. It's got that right fruit. But then some of those earthy notes
Okay.
kind of reminds you of the Sicilian ones, but with that California sunshine.
I love that. It just shows you how versatile this grape is,
Yeah,
that it can really shine outside of its traditional home. Okay, so we talked about those classic Sicilian styles, those exciting new world expressions. For you personally, is there a style of Nero d'Avola that you're particularly drawn to?
that's a tough one. It
Yeah.
really is. I have to say, I have a soft spot for the aged Nero d'Avolas,
Okay. Yeah.
the ones that have had that time to kind of mellow out, develop those more, complex notes. Leather, tobacco, even a little hint of truffle sometimes.
Oh, now you're speaking my language. I love those wines. They're layered, they're nuanced. There's a story there. But not every Nero d'Avola is meant for aging, right? What about if someone's looking for something a little more fresh, fruit forward?
Totally. You're right. Not all Nero d'Avolas are meant to just sit in a cellar forever.
Right, right.
And that's the beauty of them, right? There are plenty of delicious examples that are meant to be enjoyed young.
Yeah.
Look for those ones with bright acidity, that really vibrant fruit.
Uh,
Maybe just a touch of those spice notes we were talking about. Those are perfect for like a casual night, maybe a picnic.
Okay, now you've got me wanting to stock up on some Nero d'Avola. I'm already thinking about food pairings. We've touched on the versatility, but where does it really shine? What should I be serving with my Nero d'Avola?
Oh man, the possibilities. You could go in so many directions. Nero d'Avola is like a food lover's dream.
Right.
Okay, let's start with those lighter styles. They're
Hmm.
fantastic with grilled vegetables, lighter pizzas, maybe mushroom risotto.
Okay, yeah.
Anything earthy will really complement those flavors.
Those all sound delicious. What about those bolder, more age-worthy Nero d'Avolas? What stands up to that?
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
You want something with a little more, oomph.
Yeah.
Think grilled lamb chops, a
Mm.
hearty stew, or if you want to go classic Sicilian, pasta alla norma,
Okay.
eggplant ricotta salata.
Oh, pasta alla norma. You're making me hungry. I can just imagine those flavors. Do you have a favorite Nero d'Avola food pairing, personally?
It might sound kind of strange, but one of my all-time favorite pairings for a more full-bodied Nero d'Avola is actually a perfectly cooked steak.
Really? Okay.
There's just something about the way those tannins cut through that richness
Right.
and those dark fruit and spice notes.
Hmm.
They complement the char and savoriness of the meat so well.
Okay, a steak and Nero d'Avola. You've officially blown my mind. That is not a pairing I would have thought of. I have to try that. This whole conversation has been so eye-opening.
It's been so fun to dive into Nero d'Avola with you.
Yeah.
Such a dynamic grape, and I hope our listeners are like inspired to go out and try it.
I second that. Now, before we wrap up, one last question for you. If you had to pick just one thing, what do you want our listeners to remember about Nero d'Avola? What's the takeaway?
You know what? Don't let Nero d'Avola be Sicily's best-kept secret any longer. I mean it. This grape, it's got it all. History, complexity, it's amazing with food. It's a wine that can really surprise you. So
Yeah.
go out there, grab a bottle, discover it for yourself.
And on that note, I encourage all of you listening, embark on that Nero d'Avola adventure. Seek out those interesting bottles, experiment with food pairings, and let us know what you discover. Maybe you'll find the next big thing in the world of Nero d'Avola. Until next time, happy exploring.